This is the Dynasty Roundtable podcast, and tonight we are giving you our rookie. Basically, this is our version of a rookie guide. I had aspirations of writing a rookie guide this year. I have a better idea of how to do it next year, but this is top 60, top 50, somewhere in there, rookie rankings and tiers. We're going to give you our takes on the rookies, where we think they should go. We'll maybe give a hot take along the way. We'll probably talk about players we're all in on, players we're all out on. This is just basically an over-encompassing, probably the last time we will present rankings in this format. So, Matt Babich, how are you doing this evening, and how do you feel about your rankings as we're about 2.5 weeks from the NFL draft, which is exciting? And for people like us, I don't know about you, but I feel like I never have enough time to scout these prospects. But how are you feeling about this?
Yeah, it's hard. Like you definitely know who these guys, 50 through 60 in our rankings are, but this is where you start looking around at other people's rankings, just to get an idea of what other people out there are looking at. You have analysts that you trust, and once you get outside of like the top 40 even, no matter who you look at, there's going to be somebody new, at least 2 or 3 prospects who you're like, I'm kind of just figuring out who this guy is right now. Or I heard the name, haven't really done much digging at all. And then you have to start that. And then you look at somebody else's rankings, or you see a tweet that is circulated in your timeline. And it's just always, it's prospect exhaustion is what it is, because let's be honest, we don't need to scout 100 players in this combine. I want to scout the top 25, 30 in my rankings. I want to have them pretty thoroughly investigated. Outside of that, I want to let draft capital do the talking, because I'm not going to invest my time in, figuring out what Nate Borkirker is all about. if the dude goes undrafted or 7th round, it doesn't matter. It just truly does not matter. I don't care necessarily about CJ Daniels versus Jalen Daniels until the NFL. I know who they are. I've seen some film between the two, but I want to see what the NFL has to say about them first. So yeah, it definitely is tough to stay on top of these guys. I think we're at the point where we're kind of at prospect fatigue, which is, I kind of think like that's the perfect time to do the rankings video. We're 2.5 weeks out from the draft. I think this is the right time to kind of have our kind of last look at our rookie rankings before we have the NFL draft, and kind of go back to the drawing board and redo some of these things. But I definitely feel more confident about this set of rankings. I've gotten more confident each round we've kind of gone through this process.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say it like that, because I feel like this year, more than any other year, there wasn't really a need to go to like 100 guys. I really started struggling once I got to 60, 70 names on my list, to be honest with you. And I was talking to, we did a really cool show, or I did, with Rich from the Dynasty Island, or the Fantasy Sanctuary. That's what it is. Sorry, Rich, I almost got the name of your show wrong, which we'll have to get Rich on this show one of these days. But he was saying, once he was breaking down the film of all these guys, and once he got to 90 or 100, he was like, yeah, I'm not sure I need to go much further than this in this class. And really, for the NFL, you hear it all the time. And I certainly heard it from the Bears. Like last year, they had like 150 guys on their board, on their, in totality, on their draft board, all positions, offense, defense. So that means they have, you would think, somewhere in the name of 75 names of offensive players, and that includes offensive linemen, who we're not worried about for our practices. So, that probably leaves it at 40, 50, 60-ish names. So we're going to give you about 50 or 60. I think we'll go to 60 if we have. We'll see what we have time for, but I'm guessing we'll be able to get to 60. So that's kind of the, where I'm coming from with it. But next year I have aspirations of, creating a charting process, and just basically starting whenever the NFL draft gets over, looking at 2027 and creating content centered around that. So I am kind of excited about doing some of that, and learning and growing and develop, enhancing the process as we go along each and every year. So, but yeah, I agree with you. This year, I don't know why, but it feels like it's been more of a slog than other years. But are you ready to get started here, Mr. Babbage, with our tier one?
Ready to go.
All right, so tier one, and we do have a difference of opinion, but we do have Fernando Mendoza in our tier one with Jeremiah Love at number one. You have Fernando Mendoza at number one. We've talked about this quite a bit, so I don't know if we need to really rehash this, but do you want to talk at all or rehash the fact that you have Mendoza at number one over Jeremiah Love? And are you concerned at all about the fact that Kirk Cousins is there now and you may lose potentially? I don't know if you'll lose a full year, but
I'm a rebuild.
maybe.
I'm 9 times out of 10. I'm a rebuilding team, Seth. So no, actually, it kind of excites
Okay.
me.
All
Get
right.
1 year of Kirk Chains, get them a year to develop that. And let's be honest, 7 games maybe of Kirk Chains, unless they're winning games. Like we do this every year, right? With different quarterbacks. Like you do not draft a quarterback that high to sit him on the bench the entire season. It just doesn't happen anymore, regardless of what we want to happen. I think worst case scenario, he sits an entire year. That's fine with me. Again, I'm a rebuilding team. I think the only time that I would have Jeremiah Love over Fernando Mendoza in my rankings is if I am a actual contender that needs a running back that somehow got the first overall pick. That just doesn't happen a lot. But in Superflex, my top prospect is Fernando Mendoza because of what he's stepping into, because of what I believe he can be, and because of the positional scarcity and positional value of the quarterback position. If you want to tell me, which you have on many occasions, that Jeremiah Love is your 101, even in Superflex, I have no problem with that. That's why to me they're both they're the 1-2 in tier one because either one is a-okay with me.
Yeah, I think the reason I have Jeremiah Love at one is because, and this is probably the consensus opinion amongst everybody, is that he's just elite. I hear the comparisons to Jahmyr Gibbs being thrown around. I heard somewhere that he's a better prospect than Bijan. I don't know if I'd go that far, but he's a really, really good prospect. The problem is, for me personally, taking a running back at the 101 never feels really good. Even last year with Ashton Genty, I still didn't love doing it, even though I did it in a few spots because I felt like that was the best pick. And I still think Ashton Genty provides a lot of dynasty value. And you've seen that because, looking at keep trade cut and things of that nature, Ashton Genty still ranked really high. And, Fernando Mendoza, I do think it's going to take some time for him to adjust to the NFL game, but I think he's a quarterback at 6'5", 236 pounds. I know we haven't updated the weight on our spreadsheet. I don't know. I might have a fancy graphic, so I may have just given away the game, but we have our spreadsheet displayed here, and I'll probably edit this and it'll probably look a lot better. But 236 pounds, 6'5", tactical scrambler. I think that plays, and I think he'll figure it out eventually. I just don't know if it's going to be right away. So, but yes, if you're at the 101, yeah, I think getting a quarterback is not a bad idea. So I don't hate your position. Like I'm also okay if you take Fernando Mendoza at the 101. But it's probably like I know we're probably gonna have some people in our comments like bashing that, but anyway, but whatever, I don't care. Let's go to our tier two, and this might also be. I mean, I I kind of cheated a little bit, and I put Casey Concepcion in a tier 2A, but you put him all the way in tier 2, and I actually really like that because Casey Concepcion, I think, is one of the more underrated players in this draft. I do think he comes with some risk in the sense that the drop rate was really high. But talk to me about Casey Concepcion and why you're comfortably, or maybe not comfortably, putting him in tier 2 here.
At the risk of just not going with the bit and doing the one thing that you're not supposed to do in improv, I'm supposed to be doing yes and right now and just telling you why I put him in tier 2. I just sorted the rankings, and that's just kind of how it happened. So when I updated my rankings and updated the formulas to get to the consensus ranking, I just clicked sort, and then this is the tiers are just what happened. I think we're left with a one person. Now that I look over to the right, we're left with a one person tier 4. So something's a little messed up there. But
we can fix them as we go. We could make these tiers on the fly.
If Mekhi Lemon is in tier 2, then Casey Concepcion can be in tier 2. Because I start to view them more and more as interchangeable assets and very close to each other. I mean, you look at the height weight on the screen, they're very close to each other. They play very similar roles. They are both not of the traditional archetype to be an alpha fantasy football wide receiver or an alpha NFL wide receiver. But I am very comfortable with their talent. I still think that they are in the right place here, and I think there's a line between Casey Concepcion and, let's say, Denzel Boston, or any other running back in this class, the tight ends in this class. So I think it's appropriate to get Lemon and Concepcion closer to tier 2 than to tier 3. I think a 2A, like what you're talking about, kind of makes sense, where Tyson and Tate are 2A and Lemon and Concepcion are 2B, which effectively just kind of makes them tier 2 and 3 by themselves. And then we go into like a tier, a tier 4 as we start the next section. But long-winded answer for you there.
Yeah, I've grown on Casey Concepcion throughout the process. Obviously, Tyson Tate and Mekhi Lemon have kind of been in that tier 2. If you want to include Mendoza and Love in tier 1. And I'll just say this, Jordan Tyson's still my wide receiver 1 in this class, but I get more scared every single day listening to Daniel Jeremiah basically just Jordan Tyson's injury history scares me. The PFF guys, Jordan Tyson's injury history scares me. All I know is what I watched on tape, and to me, Jordan Tyson has a higher ceiling than either Carnell Tate or Mekhi Lemon. That's where I'll leave it. I get it. He's a riskier pick, and if you want to go the safe route, I completely understand. But for my money, based on what I've seen on tape, Jordan Tyson is still my wide receiver 1. I thought about changing it. I thought about capitulating, and then I got stubborn, and I just said, no, I'm not doing that. I think he's really, really good. So let's go to tier number 3, and we'll just go with my tiers, and we'll see if you agree with these. My tier 3 starts with Kenyon Sadiq, Denzel Boston, Eli Stowers, and then I have Omar Cooper Jr., who I have at 8, you have at 13. I think we just have a fundamental disagreement.
I'm just not ready to put him that high, Seth. I'm just not ready to do it. I reserve the right to make him top 10 if he's a first-round pick.
Well, he is number 10 because of me, because I have him at 8, you have him at 13, and it just averages out to 10. So
I think 13 is pretty fair. I want to see what the NFL has to say. I'm not fully sold. I like him. Don't get me wrong. I just like Surratt more.
It's fair. I mean, I just think it comes down to, and this is how I approach my rankings, is I think the upside is with Omar Cooper Jr. I understand Elijah Surratt, and I've used this joke multiple times, so I apologize if it's gotten old, but he's like 7'11". He's one of these wide receivers in this class that's just always open. That's why I like Casey Concepcion, and I do like Elijah Surratt too. I just think, from a size speed perspective, Omar Cooper Jr. is one of the best athletes after the catch in this draft. And I think an NFL team, I think it's growing more and more likely by the day that he gets round 1 draft capital, probably late round 1 draft capital. and there's just a lot of destinations that could get really exciting for him. And I just think the talent profile and the tape's really good. Or the talent profile is something that I want to attack, and the tape is, one of the better wide receivers that I looked at on film. So
I'll admit it's partially because I don't want to admit that I was wrong.
see, this is the honesty podcast. Like, our tiers are fucked up.
I'll
Like,
always give it to you straight. Like I've never
yeah,
never hidden anything on this podcast.
yeah.
And one of the things is like, man, I've been
We
on
rarely
Surratt
edit.
over Cooper. And it's so funny too, because it's like we talk about it all the time. Like, don't be afraid to change your opinions. Like, this is what we do. We get new information, we adjust. And then I'm sitting at my computer, like saying, like, I know I got to push Omar Cooper Jr. up because he's very good. And I was probably wrong. And he probably needs to be a top 10 ranking for me. And then I'm like, but then I'm just doing what Seth told me to do, basically. And I have like an identity crisis.
I can't listen to Seth. I can't capitulate to Seth. I'd rather be wrong.
We don't have a show if we
Seth.
just keep capitulating to each other and we end up with the same rankings. So
that's
I was, you know
That's
what?
true.
I just didn't keep bumping him up when I could have.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I feel like the range of opinion on an Omar Cooper Jr. is really interesting because I don't know if there are other people. I think it's just going to be completely dependent on your league, because I was talking to my cousin's husband at a family function today, and he loves Omar Cooper Jr. too, and he has the 101 and the 201, and he was hoping that Omar Cooper Jr. gets to the 201 Superflex rookie draft. And I said, maybe, but yeah, I kind of doubt he gets the 201. In the Denzel Boston Omar Cooper Jr. debate is interesting because it's not that I dislike Denzel Boston. I do think it's a tier down from the Casey Concepcion. It does fall off a little bit there for me, but Denzel Boston, I liked him. I thought he was really good. I just thought Omar Cooper popped more on film, and that's really what it comes down to. And I have Denzel Boston comp to Michael Pittman. I have Omar Cooper Jr. comp to Brandon Ayuk. I think that they're both have a great chance to be really good NFL wide receivers, but it's just the upside. Like, I'm just shooting for the upside with Omar Cooper Jr. So, any other thoughts here before we move to tier number 4, which is a pretty big tier for me?
No, I'm ready to move on.
All right, so tier number 4 is, there's quite a few players, as we mentioned, in this tier. Starts with Jadarian Price, goes Elijah Surratt, Ted Hurst, Mike Washington Jr., Jonah Coleman, Nicholas Singleton, Chris Brazzell, Skylar Bell. And I don't know about you, but when you get to this range in the draft, I think it starts right here. You just kind of go get your guy. And that's why Ted Hurst is in this tier for me. And I see that you have him ranked. You have him ranked really high, and I have him ranked even higher. I have him at 13. You have him at 16. I guarantee you, if we go to Dynasty or Fantasy Pros Dynasty rookie rankings, I'm pulling it up right now. Last time I checked, he was in the 30s. Yep, he's at 34. There's absolutely no way I'm letting Ted Hurst get past the middle of the second round. I don't know how you feel about that, but he is one of my guys, and I'm going to have a ton of Ted Hurst if that's going to be the consensus value.
Yeah, I'm very comfortable ranking him here, but we have to be honest with ourselves. And if the NFL doesn't respond the way we want them to on Ted Hurst, he's probably not going to end up being a guy that we're taking 2-1. But unlike our last love for Brashard Smith, who is a very different case, but he wasn't getting the buzz that Ted Hurst is getting. He wasn't getting the consensus recognition because you were early on Omar Cooper Jr., but now the consensus is having him pretty high up in the rankings. And similarly, Ted Hurst is creeping his way up there as well. So I think it's founded in more reality than Brashard Smith last year. But um, yeah, this is where I mean upside matters so much, and like Mike Washington Jr. is a good example. Nicholas Singleton, who I still have, a little bit down further at 19, is a good example. Who he has a ton of upside. Chris Brazzell, Skylar Bell, all upside candidates, talented players worth this back end, second round capital or ranking, but still, very big upside picks. We're not taking the safe, Damon Claiborne's yet. The one thing I did want to talk about is Jonah Coleman, because that's the biggest discrepancy between you and I here in this tier 4. So I have him at 11 as my RB3, pretty high up there. And you have him all the way at your RB5, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, as I went through the process, it's very possible that he fits in to the NFL into a scheme really well. Like his pass catching, I think he's good at good pass catcher, good runner in between the tackles. I think he's just fine. I just think from my perspective, there are running backs like you mentioned, like Mike Washington Jr. or Nicholas Singleton that are just athletic wonders, like in Nicholas Singleton, and I've been high on him ever since last year because I thought he might come out last year. Just the exact kind of profile of a running back that I want to take a chance on. And it's nothing against Jonah Coleman, but he's more of a 5'8", 228, not a 5'10", 5'11", 215, 220 that's going to blaze, right? And it's not all about speed at the running back position, and I'll grant you that. But when my philosophy when choosing prospects or ranking prospects is I'm looking for elite traits, elite talent that I think can profile to the next level. It's not to say that I think Jonah Coleman can't do that. I just think that these other players, maybe albeit they're riskier players, but they have a better chance of cracking my lineup in Dynasty than a Jonah Coleman. A Jonah Coleman, I think his best case scenario is, maybe he hits my flex on a good team. Maybe he's my RB3, maybe possibly 2. Maybe he's David Montgomery, but I think that's his ceiling. The ceiling for a Mike Washington Jr. or Nicholas Singleton might be Breece Hall, especially Nicholas Singleton. So that's kind of my thought process. It's not that I hate Jonah Coleman. It's just I'm kind of down on this running back class, as most people are, and I'm betting on the athleticism and the upside of other players, which, if I'm going to do that for other positions, I have to be consistent throughout. So I don't know if that's a sufficient enough explanation for the audience. Let us know where you have Nicholas Singleton, Mike Washington Jr., Jadarian Price, who's our RB2, and Jonah Coleman. Let us know your thoughts on these prospects as we go through. Anything else here that jumps out to you, or do you want to respond to Jonah Coleman, or how do you want to take this?
Yeah, I think valid points on Jonah Coleman and his size. I think I'm not overly worried. There was a guy who I was propping up in Desmond Reed that I have come to reality with and plummeted him in my rankings as I should, because 5'6" ain't gonna cut it at the NFL level.
5'6", 170 ish. Like
Yeah, I mean it's just not gonna cut
You're
it.
talking like Deuce Vaughn, best case scenario, probably.
Yeah, and that's a death sentence. That's a literal death sentence. But Jonah Coleman has 97th percentile BMI, and he's not like a burner. That's not really what he does. So I'm not expecting that of him. He does have a good college target share as well. I think he's a talented runner from what I watched. I think where my hypocrisy comes in is the difference between Jonah Coleman and Nicholas Singleton. I think they need to be closer together. And then I have Mike Washington, mixed in the middle there as well. I don't know why the foot injury has turned me off so much to Nicholas Singleton, but he had this opportunity to kind of take a step outside of the team aspect and get people interested in him. And he couldn't do it. He got hurt. It's not his fault. He got hurt. But he's also spent the last 2 seasons in a mediocre offense, not being able to captain his own ship. And there's just a lot about Nick Singleton that's going to be told in the story of how this all plays out. Because if the NFL says, we think Katron Allen's really good, we're going to give him respectable draft capital. Okay, well, that says a lot about where Nick Singleton goes as well, because the NFL is saying this person who is cannibalizing all your touches, we think they're good too. We think they're so good that they were coming in, they had to get touches. That's why we drafted him here. If the NFL says we think Katron Allen is not very good, and he is a late 5th round, mid 6th round, God forbid a 7th round pick, I don't think it'll get that far. But let's say it does. That tells me that Nicholas Singleton wasn't able to captain a backfield versus a forgettable NFL prospect. That's a big red flag, no matter what you think of his film or anything like that. So there's just so much on the board that hasn't fallen into place yet. And we've gotten nothing from Nicholas Singleton over the past 2 years. It was supposed to be a really awesome season last season. After going back into the portal or back to Penn State for another year, disappoints again. He plays well on film, but there's something there that just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I say that with somebody who has him at 19. It's not like I'm killing the guy, but
yeah, he's had a yo-yo career. I mean, when he broke out as a freshman, you thought, giddy up, we're off to the races here. But that's been his best season. Well, not really. The best season was 2024, where he caught 41 passes. And I think that's what jumps out to me the most is that pass catching ability, almost 1,100 yards rushing that year. I just think the ceiling is there, and your concerns are valid, and it's going to be fascinating to see where these guys go, because I reserve the right. Yeah, if Katron Allen gets drafted 2 rounds ahead of him and he falls deep into day 3, then we're going to have a different discussion than what we're having right now, which is why the NFL draft is fascinating. But I also promise you, if he does dip to day 3 and he does slide into the 3rd round of rookie drafts, I'm going to have a lot of Nicholas Singleton, because I still do think it would be a good upside shot to take, especially in this draft class. So I fully acknowledge all that, but I think we've said it. Any other prospects here? We're pretty much holding hands on a lot of these guys, but is there anybody that you want to talk about here before we move on?
No, I think that's it.
All right, let's move to tier number 5, which is going to take us through player 24, I believe. So we're going to get through 2 rounds. So tier 5 for me starts with Ty Simpson, Emmett Johnson, Chris Bell, Katron Allen, Jacoby Lane, and Bryce Lance. And we're basically holding hands here, except for Emmett Johnson. And I'll just go ahead and say that my concerns for Emmett Johnson, I think I've already said on this show, but I'll say him again. Small, not necessarily very fast. I get it. You don't have to be fast if you're a running back, but gosh, he's also a pass catcher, which I like, but it's the athleticism and the size speed profile that scares me. And it's, again, if he gets good draft capital, this changes my opinion a little bit, but in a draft class where we're not necessarily excited about a lot of these running backs, he's just not somebody I'm going to be particularly high on. And I will say I'm looking for, and the consensus is closer to you than it is to me, because according to Fantasy Pros rookie rankings, Emmett Johnson's at 16 overall, sandwiched in between Mike Washington Jr. and Nick Singleton, which is kind of fascinating. But talk to me about why I'm wrong about Emmett Johnson and why the size speed isn't as concerning as it should be. I said that weird. Isn't as concerning as it should be. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Is the concern that he doesn't weigh enough?
Yeah, and like somebody that size running a 4
should be faster. Is what you're.
Yes.
I don't think he's that slow. Is my biggest thing. Like when I watch him run, he doesn't feel 4, 5, 6 fast.
Fair.
And there has been some interesting. Now, granted, do I think he's out there running a 4.4? No, but when we start to play the game of percentiles, it's funny, Seth, and I get caught in this too. And this is really kind of a new thought for me that's kind of unfiltered. We get very caught up in the percentiles of like 40-yard dash speed and what that correlates into speed or like the speed scores. I mean, we're talking a tenth of a second, 4.56 to 4.46. A tenth of a second would get him guesstimate from 41st percentile closer to 65th percentile.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot. I mean, that's a little time. We talk about a real NFL field. It's not very much time. If we talk about a 40-yard dash where these guys have to pretend to be sprinters, like they're in track and field for a day, that can be anything. A bad start, you falter a little bit off your line, you're not going directly straight. Any of that can impact your 40-yard dash. So I think the way the reassurance for me was that, numbers aside, I don't feel like he plays that slow. And that's where I think some of these different metrics, people who are doing the on-field speed miles per hour in their databases, I think that's going to start to become an industry standard for scouting. It's not something that's super readily available right now, but especially as AI film analysis continues to develop, I think that's something we're going to lean on a little bit more. Because I don't care what you run in Indianapolis on a Tuesday night after doing media all day and stretching and practicing for this one run. And you may have never done track before. You have to get into a sprinter stance. You have to figure all this out. And if you run a 4.56 instead of 4.46, your whole life can change. It's crazy to me that we still even do it. To be completely honest, I think the only thing it benefits, if I'm not running a 4.4, 4.3, and I'm some nobody, I'm not running it. Or like if I'm a DN, and I run a 4.5, but I'm like 300 pounds and that's just asinine. It's an asinine time to run. I'll go out there and do it because it helps. But if you're an Emmett Johnson, I just don't get. I've really taken this into a tirade against the 40-yard dash, and I didn't mean to. But my point being is, you probably wouldn't have the same concerns about Emmett Johnson if that number did say 4.46, for example. And there were stories out there that I believe it was Carnell Tate.
Yeah.
Several hand time scouts have quoted his 40 time much lower than what the official time was at the combine with the laser. Not saying that happened here for Emmett Johnson. He's a big enough prospect. We probably would have heard about it. But just because it wasn't reported, just because Adam Schefter didn't text 20 scouts about it doesn't mean that, that might be a little off, or that's not exactly a good representation of Emmett's speed. It certainly doesn't look like it when you put on film.
Yeah, and I think it also comes back to the fact that I like a lot of the wide receivers, like just the upside. Like
you have a massive wide receiver bias in this draft, and I just think it's statistically unlikely.
Fair. I mean, yeah, we'll see where these running backs end up going. But I like Jacoby Lane. I like Bryce Lance, even though I guess I have him ranked lower than Emmett Johnson, but I like him. I the upside of Chris Bell's tantalizing to me. I would prefer that. I think Katron Allen is a potential, like, if I want to bet on a profile, that is probably the profile I will bet on over Emmett Johnson, but maybe I'm wrong. I know he's not much of a pass catcher, but from just a pure running standpoint,
he caught 50 passes last year.
Katron Allen?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about Emmett Johnson. No, Katron Allen is not much of a pass catcher.
Emmett Johnson, there's no doubt, like the receiving skills are there. I just wonder if I suppose there are similar concerns with Katron Allen, and he had a weird. Didn't he weigh in pretty light too? I'm pretty sure. I don't know why I'm forgetting that off the top of my head.
I mean, he's heavier than Emmett Johnson, but he's still weighed in underweight.
Yeah, I have him at about the same spot. A 5'11", 216. I don't know why I was spacing there. So the size is definitely yeah, he didn't run the 40 either. I just think his running style, playing in between the tackles at that size, is something that interests me more than a undersized, slower running back, albeit that can catch passes. It's close, but give me Katron
I
Allen
mean,
over Emma Johnson.
if we use the player profiler comparables for anything, which if there is one thing that they're very good at, it's height, weight, speed. So, would you rather have Kenneth Gainwell or Roshan Johnson
Oh Lord, would I rather have
in fantasy football?
probably Kenneth Gainwell at this point?
Yeah, I would say probably the guy that was 19th in fantasy points per game last year.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
my point being, yeah, that's Emmett's profile and that's Katron Allen's profile. But I'll tell you what, one of those profiles has you a more specialized role that's more likely to find yourself in a situation that even if people are saying they're giving Kenneth Gainwell touches,
yeah,
it works. They
yeah.
found a way to make it work. So Emmett Johnson has that kind of profile that you can specialize and work a role into. Katron Allen is no different than Tank Bigsby. Yeah, there are 10 Katron Allens that come in the class every single year. It's
Yeah, take Bigsby. Like looking at the advanced metrics, looked pretty good last year. But anyway, small
he did
sample
look pretty
size.
good last year. I have him at 22, so I'm not trying to disparage him. I'm just
Yeah,
saying that, and there's a billion scatbacks that come out every year, right? It's a replaceable position no matter what you're
mhm.
in. I just think it's more likely that if a guy like Emmett Johnson can prove himself as a runner, he is going to find an easier job of carving out a role somewhere than Katron Allen will. Which is why we always lean, on pass catching. And again, we're talking about a difference of one running back spot here in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. Another player that you've actually swung me on him is Bryce Lance, and we are 10 spots above consensus on him. So that's going to be another Dynasty Roundtable guy that we will have a close eye on. He's at 35 according to Fantasy Pros consensus rookie rankings.
I checked
Um,
Debro's personal rankings today. I'm pretty sure he has Bryce Lance in like 18th.
I love D, bro.
It's something
Um,
like he's got like it's like Ted Hurst fifth, like 13, Bryce Lance 14, or like something like that. He's got both of them like in the top 15.
nice, nice. Um, any other thoughts, comments before we move on to tier number 6?
No, I'm sure the listeners are probably tired of hearing me talk about Emmett Johnson in the 40-yard dash.
So for me, I don't know. Like this is just a massive tier.
I get
So
it, dude. Like
like
this is
I
around the
just
time where it becomes one massive tier,
yeah, and
at
it's
least
kind of
close
like
to it.
all these guys are. And I actually didn't mean to. I actually wanted to put Zachariah Branch in that tier 5. So I'm gonna
Well,
adjust
I'm
this on
glad
the
you
fly.
didn't.
So he's now in tier 5, but
I don't think
we
he's very good.
well, I do think we're gonna get into that.
I think he's
Uh,
a very good college receiver.
Yeah, and I have no idea what Georgia was doing with him, to be honest with you. I mean, he's a guy that I have him at 17, and I will admit, like 17 might be a bit bullish. That's middle of the second round in a superflex league, albeit this year superflex doesn't really matter as much. But I'm trying to see. I mean, he's 23 according to Fantasy Pros. You have him at 35, so we're kind of meeting in the middle here. I just think that this is a bet on the talent. That when I was watching the film on Zachariah Branch, there were multiple times where, and I don't know the best way to quantify this other than calling it bro science, but you just go, holy shit, that dude just ran an incredible route. Now, you didn't see it enough on tape, but there were moments where you went, this guy might be the best route runner in the entire class. I don't know, but I don't know why they force feed him bubble screens all the time, wide receiver screens, because when you look at PFF, right? And again, PFF being what PFF is, and I don't have it pulled up right now, but their yards per route run comparing him to Chris Brazel, for example, who ran routes deep down the field, exactly the same. But the ADOT's different because while he was running routes deep down the field, he wasn't targeted deep down the field. So what we can't see, we can't really comment on. I wish he was
Isn't that
targeted deep down
telling,
the
Seth?
field.
Isn't that
Maybe,
telling?
or maybe Georgia just
Championship
can't put a
pedigree.
quarterback together that can get him the ball deep down the field. I don't know. Like,
Not
you're
even in the
probably right.
intermediate.
You're
Like he is
probably right
Malachi. He's
about
just another
Zachariah
Malachi
Branch.
Corley, but better.
See, that's disrespect. I think that's
I said,
like
but
Malachi
better.
Corley was at
He is
Western
closer. I'll say it
Kentucky.
for. I was gonna say it for Wandale. I'll say it for Wandale and Malachi Corley. Wandale's a better, certainly a nicer way to go with it. But Zachariah Branch is closer to Wandale Robinson than he is Zay Flowers. If we're talking about outcomes for his height, his weight, Zay Flowers was dominating fools at Florida State. They didn't have. Can you name the quarterback that was thrown to Zay Flowers?
No,
because he wasn't good, but it didn't matter because Zay Flowers was good.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying he's like, I'm not saying he's Zay Flowers, but like when you watch him, you go, man, like that's the upside case. I think, like, I think he could develop into a Zay Flowers, and there is developing to do. Now, are you correct in saying that that's likely not going to happen? Probably not, because we really haven't seen it before, at least not in my memory, that we see like these lower ADOT guys, like the Malachi Corleys of the world, like you said, although he was at Western Kentucky and Zachariah Branch started at USC, went to Georgia. So I think that that's different, completely different. But you like you said, like you're probably right about this. I just this is a bet on the talent, and in a class where I'm gonna make some bets on players, and in a class that's not really that great, in my opinion, especially from a depth perspective. Zachariah Branch is just a guy based on the film and based on some of the advanced metrics and based on the fact that he has just an incredible amount of talent. He could turn into something, like he could turn into Zay Flowers, but you're probably right. He's probably on the Malachi Corley to Zay Flowers, whatever scale. He's probably closer to Malachi Corley at this rate, at this particular moment in time. But this is a bet on the upside, and I completely understand the concerns. So, any thoughts to that, or do you want to talk about another player here?
No, my thoughts to end that would be I could see myself taking him a couple of spots higher than 34 just because of some of the other prospects around that area for me in my rankings, like depending on landing spot. Like if he goes to a really crowded situation that already has like a main slot guy, like literally Baltimore's not crowded, but if he got drafted to Baltimore, for example, I'd be like, no, I'm good. Like I'm out. Like, you know, there's some places where I would be immediately out, but there are some places where, you know, say you went to Oakland in the third round or something like that. Or Oakland. Oh my gosh, what year am I living in?
Boomer.
Las Vegas.
There.
If he goes to Vegas, or for example, you know, something like that, intriguing offense on the rise, not much short-term competition for him to rise up from. I'd be more tempted to take him a few spots higher. I think the next person that we should probably discuss is actually, let's talk about the quarterbacks first. So no Drew Aller, no Cade Klubnik here. Oh, we actually do have Drew Aller here. And Carson Beck. But what I was going for is that Cole Payton and Garrett Nussmeier are our QBs 3 and 4 in this draft class. So you've successfully convinced me on Cole Payton. Congratulations. I still have Nussmeier ahead of him. Do you think that's a big deal? Do you have any, you know, you're actually Nussmeier is ranked behind Carson Beck and Drew Aller for you. And yet he's my QB 3. So maybe we should talk about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it comes down to more the tape, like Beck's tape. Cole Payton is, I'll admit, he's a complete project, but again, and I think it does come down to like we're ranking these guys for fantasy too, and I think while Cole Payton's probably not going to amount to much, probably not. I think that there's a better chance that he cracks your fantasy lineup than say a Nussmeier or a Beck or an Aller. Although just talking about Carson Beck and Drew Aller, I mean, there once upon a time people were talking about Carson Beck being the Heisman Trophy potential candidate, and obviously it did not turn out that way. But Carson Beck did lead Miami to a national championship game. Now he threw the pick and they lost. But I've always been, I think, a little bit higher on higher than consensus on Carson Beck. I don't know where Fantasy Pros has him, but just from a pure passer, and again, I did not chart this the way I wanted to, but from the film that I saw, I just like Carson Beck a little bit more than Garrett Nussmeier. But again, you could probably talk me into Nussmeier. Do you have a good Nussmeier, a case for why Nussmeier's ranked ahead of both Peyton and all these other quarterbacks, or were you just wondering what I was thinking?
Yeah, no, I think I was wondering what you were thinking, but where I kind of come from is everything kind of opened up, when I realized, and I knew he was dealing through some injury, but Nussmeier really went into detail about what it was like to play through his shoulder injury in pretty much all the games that he played in last year. Affecting the way that he threw the ball. I think it was his shoulder, if I'm recalling correctly. Talked about pain every time he threw. But it's been a while since I've looked at that story. Regardless, it went back to his junior, fourth season. He clearly redshirted one of these years. He played 5 years of college football. It was his fourth year, senior, junior, whatever you want to call that for him. And 4,000 yards, 29 passing touchdowns. He looked a lot more impressive in his junior year. And I think there's just a lot of, Carson Beck had a healthy final season of college football and still just made a lot of key reads that just aren't going to work. Like there's a lot of Carson Beck that needs to get worked out of him to be successful. And I think with Nussmeier, he has that professional kind of pedigree that he comes from. He's a little bit more polished. I'm not a great QB evaluator. And so part of it is just kind of gut feeling based off of what I see there. But I think Nussmeier might actually kind of be the consensus right now over Carson Beck, for example. I know Cade Klubnik too. Not 100% on Aller, but they're all kind of right next to each other.
Yeah, that's fair. And it's honestly been a while since I've watched the tape on Nussmeier, but yeah, I remember when I was looking at those quarterbacks, it wasn't like a big difference between all of them. I just kind of felt very similarly about all of them. And I suppose what pushed me over the edge with those guys, just to put a bow on it, was the upside case that I saw for fantasy, which I guess is my equilibrium throughout this whole rankings process. But Nussmeier might turn into a better prospect than Cole Payton, Drew Aller. Drew Aller's size, I'm in the talent profile, is very alluring. But again, he just never put it together at Penn State. A guy that I'm relatively high on, more so than you, is Eli Heidenreich or Heidenrich. I'm not sure how you say that, from Navy.
I hope it's not Heidenreich.
Heidenreich, like the wrestler.
Heidenreich within the Navy? That's got to be treason, I think.
What, really? Just because it's German, or why?
Heiden.
Heiden.
Like I'm Heiden Reich. He's a spy.
Oh my god.
Heidenreich in the Navy literally translates to German foreign agent.
Really? No. I didn't know that. Maybe it's Heidenrich, and we can let us know in the chat. But anyway, I have him at 33. You have him at 46. See, now this is, I thought, the pass catching profile of running back that would get you excited, but he's probably honestly more of a wide receiver than a running back. But I think he can do both. and he's officially on my sleepers list. And according to, I mean, I think we're both way ahead of consensus on him, because I think he's like at 80 something the last time I checked, which is just preposterous. Yeah, he's at 80 overall according to the Fantasy Pros rookie rankings, which that cannot be right. Um, but it says 23 experts have ranked out of 35, so whatever. But I think he's a good like a third round pick to take if you're looking for upside. I'm looking here at our disagreements. Is there anything else that you are seeing, or anything else you want to talk about before we move on?
No, I think we've kind of exhausted it. I'm getting there on Eli. I just don't know what he is, man. You know,
Yeah, and I think he's honestly a wide receiver, and I
that kind of
think
scares me more. Like, I kind of wish he was a running back that like would line up in the slot sometimes. Like, have something unique about you.
all right. I do think it's I think his pass catching is unique. But anyway, uh let's this is tier 7, so I've done a horrible job at reading the names, but hopefully there'll be a nice shiny graphic on the screen that'll let you know who's in our tiers. So tier 7 is another huge tier. It's starts with Robert Henry Jr., Kevin Coleman, Cade Klubnik, Jalen Daniels, Adam Randall, Eric McAllister, Tanner Koziol, Jam Miller, Michael Trigg, Jeff Caldwell, Deion Burks, Kalen Black, Taylon Green, Desmond Reed, CJ Daniels, Josh Cameron, Diego Pavia, and CJ Donaldson. I'm looking here, and again, you have Klubnik ranked way higher than me. We kind of talked about the quarterbacks already. Is that just a bet on a quarterback in
It's
a super
literally
flex?
just a bet on a quarterback
I kind of
over running backs and receivers that I don't really like.
yeah,
Because if
and
there's one thing that we can count on is that the NFL and we are just about as good as at scouting quarterbacks as each other. So the odds of somebody, Klubnik, Aller, Beck, Nussmeyer, Cole Payton, CJ Daniels, Jalen Daniels, odds of one of them hitting, two of them hitting at some point in their career, just having time as a starter. The odds are good. We just don't really know, especially with like the former projected first round picks that continued to stay through college and just kind of had disappointment throughout the rest of their collegiate career. Drew Aller, Cade Klubnik, Garrett Nussmeyer, Carson Beck. I mean, they're all four fit that bill. And now none of them are going to be first round picks, most likely. But they all at one time were projected to go there. So my mind immediately goes to somebody in that group is going to hit. And
maybe
if I'm in a super flex, I mean, yeah, sure. Maybe none of them do. Right? Like that's very possible. But I just think there's too much experience and former hype in all of these 5-star recruits that I'm willing to give up on because they kept staying and they each caught a different strand of variance. Like Aller and Nussmeyer were both hurt. Klubnik is in a dying Clemson program. I think Klubnik is probably the most damning on his talent that we've seen. But yeah, my rankings on quarterbacks are purely because of where we're at in the rankings. We have a super flex league and we're on like quarterback 6 here. And if my quarterback 6 in the class or whatever he is a 5-star recruit, played at a good program at 1 year, was saying like that he'll probably be a first round pick next year, I'm going to take that opportunity over Damon Claiborne or Max Clare or
wow.
Zachariah Branch. Draft capital depending. If they all go like 6, if they all go 5th, 6th round, Seth, all of this is for nothing. But sure. I don't think that's going to happen either. I think they're all going to be 2nd, 3rd, 4th round picks. One will go in the 4th. I think the rest will be 2nd, 3rd round picks.
Wow, that might be a hot take. Uh, which one? Like, if you had to bet on one of these quarterbacks going in
Oh, I
the
guess, sorry.
second
Cole
round.
Payton is not included. I'm talking about the 4 former 5 stars,
Okay.
just to make sure that
Um,
that's clear. Cole Payton's not a part of that.
okay. Um, I didn't realize all those guys were 5 stars. Anyway,
I feel free to fact check me on that one. I'm just guessing. I have a pretty good guess that Carson Beck, maybe not.
all
Yeah, they all have to be 5-star recruits.
right. Trying to fact check you, pre-recorded podcast here. Yeah, if you had to bet on one, would it be Nussmeier to go? It's like second round, like, or do you think there's any hope for Ty Simpson going in round one, or like,
I think
what are your
there's
thoughts
hope
there?
for Ty Simpson to go in round 1. I don't think he will. I think he'll be the first. I don't know. I think he probably will go first because someone will probably trade up to go get him. If I'm being honest, that's just. I don't think it'd be smart, but I think that's probably what's going to happen. If not back into the first round, he will be one of the very first picks in the second round. By the way, I was half right. Klubnik and Aller were 5-star recruits. I would have swore Nussmeier was, but he was a
Yeah,
4-star.
I was
And
looking that up
Carson Beck
too.
was also a 4-star recruit, which that one makes more sense. I was very confident that Nussmeier was also a 5-star recruit. So I was like, if they are, then I'll just assume that Carson Beck is too. But
Yeah, I'll throw out some names in this range. Like, if you go 5 rounds deep in your rookie draft, guys that I would be more in on, um, like taking a chance on them. Like, at this range, Adam Randall, I'm fine taking a shot on a big running back from Clemson. I'm not
mhm.
a huge fan. I'm probably not going to get him here, to be honest. There's probably somebody else that's going to take him. Robert Henry Jr., another interesting name that's had gotten some steam. Jam Miller from Alabama. Jeff Caldwell is interesting. He's an
I
older
like Caldwell.
prospect. Um, the other outside of that, I suppose the mobile quarterbacks here, Talon Green from Arkansas is interesting. I don't know if there's much there though. To be honest, I'm pretty much completely out on Diego Pavia as a prospect, and then C.J. Donaldson as well is a guy to just take a shot on. But those are just some names firing from the hip. I'm probably all the way out on the tight ends in this range. Michael Trigg, Tanner Koziol, they don't really excite me all that much. And probably we've probably gotten past a lot of the wide receivers that I would take too. But I did throw out Caldwell and McAllister's interesting, and Kevin Coleman too. If I didn't say him already, McAllister, Kevin Coleman. Again, these are just dart throws that I'm willing to take in this range. But any final thoughts here before we kind of recap and wrap up?
Yeah, Pavia is probably a little too high for me. A little bet on the quarterback still, but I have him at 50 versus your 68. I don't really like Pavia. So that's one I'll concede on.
I think that means we both don't like Pavia. Like, if you have him at 50, I mean, going with your quarterback theory, I mean, it makes sense to take.
Yeah,
Take a
I
flyer.
think I would still, again, the NFL will come and say a lot. And I think there's probably just a little bit of bias because he was a Heisman finalist. But I mean, from a profile, I would rather at this point just take a shot on CJ Daniels, Jalen Daniels, or Taylor Green.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. So do we dare recap this? I don't know.
I can
Top
go
six.
through it.
You want to go through it for the
I'll go through
podcast
it.
audience? All right. Take a deep breath. You want me to scroll up here? There
Yeah,
we go.
I have it on my screen.
Okay.
All right. So the first 12 are one, Jeremiah Love, Fernando Mendoza, Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, Makai Lemon, Casey Concepcion, Kenyon Sadiq, Denzel Boston, Eli Stowers, Omar Cooper Jr., Jadarian Price, and Elijah Surratt rounding out the top 12. In the next 12, we have Ted Hurst, Mike Washington Jr., Jonah Coleman, Nicholas Singleton, Chris Brazel, Skylar Bell, Ty Simpson, Emmett Johnson, Chris Bell, Katron Allen, Jacoby Lane, and Bryce Lance. In the next 12, number 25 through 36, we have Zachariah Branch, Damon Claiborne, Jeremy Bernard, Seth McGowan, Max Clare, Cole Payton, Garrett Nussmeyer, Malachi Fields, Antonio Williams, Carson Beck, Drew Aller, and Jaden Ott. 37 through 48, we have Roman Hemby, Eli Heidenreich, Dean Connors, Jamari Taylor, Brendan Thompson, Le'Veon Moss, Robert Henry Jr., Kevin Coleman Jr., Cade Klubnik, Jalen Daniels, Adam Randall, and Eric McAllister. And rounding us out, 49 through 60, Tanner Koziol, Jam Miller, Michael Trigg, Jeff Caldwell, Deion Burks, Kalen Black, Talon Green, Desmond Reed, CJ Daniels, Josh Cameron, Diego Pavia, and CJ Donaldson.
All right. It doesn't get any better than that, to be honest with you guys. Recapping that. Matt Babich, any final words of wisdom for the people this evening?
Get to studying. If you're early on in the I know I'm you can feel free to make fun of me because I'm actually doing some words of wisdom for fantasy football this time instead of something ridiculous. But I gave you pretend shit for that last time we were recording.
You did do that.
The duality of me. But since I can't think of anything ridiculous today, I'll say if you're starting your rookie journey, you got a couple of weeks. Find some content creators. If we are one of those, thank you. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, check out some of our other content. Find some others. We recommend, guys like Scott Bogman, Derek Brown, the guys at South Harmon Fantasy Football, just for starters. John Lobb, another great friend of the program.
By the way, John will be on our next episode.
I know he will.
Can't wait.
I'm excited.
Can't wait for that.
If you guys have never seen an episode with John Lobb on our program, please like, subscribe, check it out next week. I promise you, there is no one in the industry with more infectious positive energy when it comes to fantasy football, particularly talking about a lot of these college recruits. It's him. So I always get super excited for that. I'm already excited for it. But yeah, pick your trusted sources, get to work, and start making your moves now. Start looking at where you are in the draft, who you think you're going to be going after, and start planning out too who you think your league mates are going to be going after, and start thinking about that as well. Because even though we like a lot of these guys, if there's one thing we'll always recommend, it's being interested in trading back, especially as we get later on in the draft and upside is harder to find. Trading back or acquiring future picks can be worthwhile sometimes. We have videos on some of those exact questions as well, so go check out the channel for that.
Yeah, and let us know if there's a topic that you would like to see us do, or I'm always open to audience feedback if there's enough of a demand for it. Go ahead, click the like button, subscribe to the channel like Matt says, and stay tuned for more content on the channel, both pre-NFL draft and post-NFL draft. We'll have you covered for your Dynasty fantasy football fix, helping you stay ahead of the game here on the Dynasty Roundtable. That's going to do it for us tonight. Nobody cares about Aaron Rodgers. Thank you for watching, and until next time, be good, everybody, and we will see you later.